Piyush Jain from Morningstar India now joins us. Piyush, to track M&M. M&M was down 6% yesterday. We all know the 3 months ban that has been imposed on fresh diesel registration at Delhi. Do you think the reaction is overdone, or it's a classical case of derating?
Yeah, hi, good morning. So I think if you just look at the news and with respect to the Delhi impact, about 4% volumes would be coming from Delhi. So fundamentally, you could say that yes, 5 to 7% fall would be basically based on what we are seeing, a possible ban the diesel vehicles extending more than 3 months. But then we have to look at the case. M&M is a company with almost very high exposure to diesel variants. And then you're looking at a precedent. Basically, if you're looking at Delhi, high pollution, a ban on the diesel vehicles. So this is setting a precedent. And this will mean that there will be a sentimental derating, because almost all the large cities are facing the same pollution issue, same congestion issue, same infrastructural bottlenecks. So there are very high chances that investors would actually start thinking on a case of a sentimental derating of a possible higher risk of a hit on the volumes towards the other cities also. Let's remember the tractor side of the business not doing that great. Yes, there was an odd month where we saw a rebound in the growth in the tractor volumes. But overall, as we know, the rural side is not doing that great in India at present. Monsoons have not been that favorable, which means that if you're talking about the higher margin and the flagship vehicles, that volume basically coming under shadow, it means that there will be higher risk in the near future at present.
Right. So, how should one approach this? Is that a risk which the market has now started to build, or building in that, this risk is also possible going ahead?
I think this is a risk possible going ahead. And I think it will be a gradual process when the market will actually try to understand what happens over the next 3 months, how we progress through the ban, whether basically registrations are shifting towards other cities, or actually we are seeing that there is a severe drop in the diesel vehicle registrations. So how it's happening, I think that will have to be seen. And let's see basically how basically the model progressions happen in Delhi, and how basically the other cities take the trend as. So it will be quite interesting to see.
Right. On this 3-month basis, you think markets would now wait and watch? Because, it's a ban now till only 31st of March. But generally, these bans tend to get an extension, or they tend to stick around till the time, the problem for which it is done doesn't really solve.
I think all other measures would really need a long time to get implemented, whether you're talking about the power plants, you're talking about expressway, the peripheral expressway outside Delhi. So I think in the near term, this would have been the much easier way of increasing the pollution tax, of banning the diesel vehicles. We could basically be on the either side of the coin, whether you should go for an outright ban, or you should basically phase out the older vehicles. But then, as we know at present, basically this will be a tricky situation, but markets generally try to build in risk in advance. Which means that we could possibly see a sort of derating, a sort of higher risk building in the estimates, models, which means that I think in the near term, underperformance would be a much easier estimate on M&M at present.
Right. Would this benefit IGL? You look at the oil space as well?
Absolutely. Because what this is doing is, this is basically, and not even the ban, even what the Delhi government is trying to do is bringing in more CNG buses on the road, which means that there is a case of higher CNG consumption, higher gas consumption. And this basically, if you couple this with the development that there was a renegotiation on the gas pricing from the Qatar, which means that both on the eastern coast and the western coast, the pricing of the gas is becoming more and more attractive for city gas distribution. So now if basically the city governments, the cities, basically if they are going for greener vehicles, which means that there is a higher gas consumption. So in Delhi, IGL is basically the company which is going to get benefited by higher gas consumption. So, and the stock has seen a pop-up, and fundamentally it warranted because it's going to boost our volumes for them.
It's one of the big underperforming names, right? Which is also quite cheap. So if there is a 10 to 15% growth visibility on IGL, it can actually re-rate quite a bit. Could that be a logical reason to buy IGL?
Absolutely. So I think there will be more upside, and I think across the gas service providers, you call it Petronet LNG, GAIL, IGL. IGL would be a more concentrated story. Even GAIL, Petronet LNG, they are all long-term plays, and they all basically are very good fundamental stories. Because let's see that fundamentally we are moving towards a much higher gas consumption country, and that is going to percolate across the entire service provider sector.
Right, Piyush, thank you so much for taking out time for us. A pleasure talking to you.